In the earlier part, we have seen how to assess this democracy with the different tools and the assessment on the basis of the government should be accountable, then it should be responsive and legitimate. That assessment we have seen. Now the next assessment we will see. Economic growth and development. It is not wrong to expect economic growth and development in a democracy. Whether this front completes by democracy and not, we will see here. If democracies are expected to produce good governments, yes, it is expected to produce a good government, then is it not fair to expect that they would also produce development? This is good, or we are having right to expect the economical development of the country. Evidence shows that in a practice, many democracies did not fulfill this expectation. The experience is a showing here the democracy is not very good on this front. If you consider all democracies and all dictatorship for the 50 years between 950 to 2000, these 50 years are considered here to assess the democracy on the front of economic growth and development. These 50 years from 950 to 2000 are considered. The inability of democracy to achieve highest economic development worries us. People are worrying about it. Economical development is not good in the democracy. It is failed, but just only the democracies are getting failed or dictatorship are getting high development. It is not there. Dictatorship have slightly higher rate. It is not more, but slightly higher rate of economic growth. The inability of democracy to achieve higher economic development worries us. But this alone cannot be reason to reject the democracy. There are many reasons for that we are accepting the democracy or favoring the democracy. If the economic growth is a little bit less than the dictatorship, this is one reason. For this reason, we cannot reject the democracy. As we have already studied in economics, economic development depends on several factors. To get economic development of any country, several factors are responsible. Only the government is not enough. The way of government is not enough to get the economic development. Other factors are responsible here. Country's population size. First, very important fact which makes effect on the development of country, that is the country's population size. Then global situation. What is the global scenario now? That also makes effect on the development, economic development of a particular country. Cooperation from other countries. Relations with the foreign countries. If the relations are friendly, then it will be help to make the economical growth of the country. Then economic priorities adopted by the country. Every country is adopting different economic priorities. Whether they are giving more importance to the human resource. If one country is giving more importance to the build human resource, that time you will not look more economical growth. So, however, the difference in the rate of economic development between less developed countries with dictatorship and democracies is negligible. Negligible can be ignored easily, very slight it is. Overall, we cannot say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development. It is clearly we can say we cannot expect or democracies are not guarantees of the economical development. But we can expect democracies not to lag behind dictatorship in this respect. That is not wrong to expect economic development by the democracy. When we find such significant difference in the rate of economic growth between countries under dictatorship and democracy, is it better to prefer democracy as it has several other positive outcomes? The other positive outcomes are there. That is why this can be we keep away or can little bit ignore. The economical growth dictatorship are saying, but how could it? The picture is showing here in your book also. You can see how the distribution of economical growth is there. Rich are enjoying more portion of the growth. Then what get to the middle and to the low class? This figure showing very clearly who is using more and to whom, the people who are gaining very less. So this kind of economic growth is not good for any country. The distribution should be properly. I will move ahead to the next page. The economic outcomes of democracy. This source is given to you. The table is given to you. You will study this one afterward. Might you have studied also. If you have studied, if you have any question, you can put in a chat box or message me. We'll look afterward. The next is there. First criteria we have seen about the economic development. At the economic development front, or with the tool of economic development, we saw the democracies are little bit failed or having lag than the dictatorship. But that lag is not very worrying. We can neglect it or ignore it slightly. The difference is there. Next criteria is here. Reduction of inequality and poverty. This is the first basic expectation by the democracy. The democracy should be reduce inequality and reduce the poverty, which shown in the earlier picture. In that way, the democracy should not. The democracy should always help to reduce the inequality in the country and the poverty of the country. We'll see here. Perhaps more than development, it is reasonable to expect democracies to reduce economic disparities, differences. The economical differences should be reduced by the democracy than the more development of the economy. The economic development is important, but just only the economic development which figures are showing, that is not enough. That figure should be distributed properly, which will help to reduce the disparities of the economy, or which will help to reduce the poverty of people. Even when a country achieves economic growth, will wealth be distributed in such a way that all citizens of the country will have a share and lead a better life. The economic growth in that way should be all people of the country should enjoy that economic growth, or they should get better life. Is economic growth in a democracy accompanied by increased inequalities among the people, or do democracies lead to a just distribution of goods and opportunities? These are the questions. Whether these are answered or fulfilled by the democracy or not. In this criteria, we are looking. Do democracies lead to a just distribution of goods and opportunities? Rather than the development it is needing, the distribution of goods and opportunities should be in an equal way. Democracies are based on a political equalities. Actually, democracy is on the based on political equalities. Political equalities means everyone is having right to vote, and the value of every vote should be same. This is the political equality. So democracy gives first the political equality. All individuals have equal weight in electing representatives. One vote, same value. Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on an equal footing, we finding growing economic inequalities. First target of the democracy to bring political equality. While looking political equality, we are expecting the growth of economic development and economic equalities. Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on an equal footing, we find growing in economic inequalities. This is the experience we have seen. While bringing all people at the same level, political equality, that time, the growing economic inequality, the valley in between economical status we are experiencing. A small number of ultra-rich enjoys a highly disproportionate share of wealth. In this development, in this democracy, the very small people, the number in a number, but having rich enjoys the economic growth. Okay, we were looking about the which people are getting or enjoying the economic development. Very few people who are in a number very small, they are called ultra rich small numbers. The valley in between rich and poor is increasing day by day in a democratic country also. A small number of ultra rich enjoy a highly disproportionate share of wealth and incomes, which shown in the earlier picture. On the earlier page, I have shown you one picture. The same is depicting here. Not only that, their share in the total income of the country has been increasing. It is not only these ultra rich are enjoying more proportion, but also in the national income also their share is increasing. It means poor are remaining far from in the income also to getting income also. Those at the bottom of the society, the poor people, have very little to depend upon. These are very little who shares in the income of the national income. Their incomes have been declining. Day by day, their income is declining, and the income of ultra rich is increasing day by day. Sometimes they find it difficult to meet their basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, house, education, and health. The people who are living at the bottom of society, their income is declining day by day, and they're facing difficulties to meet their basic needs, that are food, clothes, house, education, and health. These are the basic needs. Everyone should get it. But these needs are also not completing by these people, or their income is very less. They are unable to meet these needs. In actual life, democracy do not appear to very successful in reducing economic inequalities. We cannot ignore it. We have to accept it. Democracy is not very successful to reduce the economic inequalities. In class 9th economics textbooks, you have already studied about poverty in India. Last year you have studied about the poverty of India. and which people are enjoying and which people are away from the economic growth. How should we bring them in the main flow? With the different cases we have seen it, the cases of backward caste, the cases of women, the cases of girl child in the family, vulnerable people. In the term of vulnerable, we have seen the status of poverty in India. The poor constitute a large proportion of our voters, and no party will like to lose their votes, because to get win the majority is needing, and poors are in a number more, and no party will be like to lose these votes. Yet democratically elected governments do not appear to be as keen to address the questions of poverty as you would expect them to. Why it is so happening? The number of poor are more, the voters are more, which belongs from the poor people. Every party trying to grab the vote from this group. Any party will not like to lose these votes, but then also the questions of these poor people are ignored. Why this is so happening? Maybe because of just only in the period of election, they are raising the questions of the poor, and after getting elect, they forget, and poor are not paying attention to their own questions, and they are not asking about it to the government or to the member who they have elected. Maybe it is happening. The rich people are providing funds, party funds or election funds. Because of that also it may happening, or maybe the power of muscle is also working here. That is why the majority poor are excluded from the development, from the getting economic equalities. These are possibilities I am saying. You can also think in this field what would be happen about it. The situation is much worse in some other countries. In Bangladesh, more than half of the population lives in a poverty. People in several poor countries are now dependent, the rich countries even, for food supplies also. The poor countries are dependent on the rich countries for food also. At least the food, this necessity should be complete by every country, every government. Whether the country is rich or poor, but the food is the basic need, and this should be complete by every country, every government. This should be completed by the democracy. Accommodation of social diversity. The democracy should accommodate with the social diversity. It should solve the problem of the diversity. Accommodation of social diversity. Do democracies lead to peaceful and harmonious life among citizens? Is every democracy providing a peaceful and harmonious life among the citizens? It will be fair expectation that democracy should produce a harmonious living together happily, harmonious social life. The democracy should produce a harmonious social life. There should be no clashes among the communities in the society. Everyone should be live peacefully, happily with each other. This expectation expected by the democracy. We have seen in the earlier chapter how democracies accommodate various social divisions. We have seen in the first chapter with the case of Belgium and Sri Lanka how democracy helps to accommodate the diversity. The Belgian case supports here are the example of the accommodation of the diversity. We saw in the first chapter how Belgium has successfully negotiated differences among ethnic population. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. This reduces the possibility of these tensions becoming explosive or violence due to the democracy, or which helps to solve the problem, which gives equal opportunities to the all. Automatically, it reduces the possibilities of the tension becoming explosive or violent, and it helps to develop the country and to produce the harmonious social life in the country. No society can fully and permanently resolve conflicts among different groups. Any kind of society, whatever are there is no permanent answer by any society to resolve the conflict among different groups. If different groups are there, their interests are different, and due to different interests, conflicts can be arise. Little bit or on a small scale, it can be remain. No society can fully and permanently resolve conflicts among different groups, but we can certainly learn to respect these differences, and we can also evolve mechanism to negotiate the differences. But democracy provides or creates that kind of people, that kind of opportunities, which will helps to respect to the other groups. Respect these differences, and we can evolve that kind of mechanism, negotiate the differences. We can produce that ways or that system in the country which will negotiate the differences in the society or in a different group. So here democracy helps to respect individual and individual's opinion. It builds new mechanism which can expect the differences or negotiate with the differences of others. Democracy is best suited to produce this outcome. Non-democratic regimes often turn a blind eye to or suppress internal. Non-democratic government are not success or often become blinds whenever differences are there. Social differences. This is the ability which is produced by the democracy, which helps to respect the differences and to make the harmonious society. Ability to handle social differences, divisions, and conflicts, a definite plus point of democratic regimes. But the example of Sri Lanka reminds us that a democracy must fulfill two conditions in order to achieve these outcomes. We are having experience of the Sri Lanka. Democracy was there, but then also the government tried to bring majoritarianism. It should not happen. What should get through the democracy? We will see. These two things must be get by the democracy when accommodating with the diversity. It is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply ruled by majority opinion. Maybe the rulers are elected by the majority, but it means not they will rule in the majority opinion. In a democracy, there should be respect to the minorities. May you will get confused in this point, but don't get confused. To elect, to come in a government, majority are needing, but just you came in a government with the help of majority, it means not you will disrespect who are in a minorities in your country. You should respect all minorities. You should always think about the minorities, because these minorities also help you to bring the government, to build the government and bring harmonious society in the country. The majority always needs to work with the minority so that governments function to represent the general view. Majority and minority opinions are not permanent. One may be today having in a majority